Okay, today we are going to go over a couple of things. So on our agenda, first we're going to talk about multiplying integers, and then we'll go into dividing integers, and you will have a worksheet that you can work through. So you should have a copy of these slides that you can follow along with. Hopefully by the end of this, you will understand how to multiply integers and how to divide integers. So this is our goals for this video. All right, let's go right into multiplying integers. And before we do that, let's just remember what we did about multiplying um, natural numbers. So let's take this example here where we have 3 times 7. Remember that multiplication is just repeated addition. So we can take this multiplication and write it as 7 plus 7 plus 7. So remember, we have 3 sevens. That's the result of this 3 here. And this 7 is appearing 3 times. So if we add 7 plus 7 plus 7, we should get 21. Okay, now there is one very nice thing about multiplication, and that is that multiplication is commutative. So what does commutative means? It means that we can that 3 times 7 is the same as 7 times 3. So that's what commutative means. So we can look at this same problem we just did, the 3 times 7, and look at 7 times 3. And if we take a look at what's happening, we have 7 of these 3's appearing. And if we add them together, we get 21. Notice it's the same answer we got before. So these are two very useful things to remember, that multiplication is repeated addition and that multiplication is commutative. And so this is something we went over before with natural numbers. I'm just going to change slides now. So let's talk about multiplying integers now. So we have this example over here. We have 2 times minus 9. And we're going to approach this very much the same way we did with natural numbers. So the 2 is the number of times we're going to add minus 9. So that's just like the problem we did here, where we had 3 is the number of times we added 7. Let's go back. So we're going to add minus 9 2 times, and we'll get something that looks like that. We have minus 9 plus minus 9. There are 2 of these. Okay, and in a previous class, we looked at how to add integers, and um, minus 9 plus minus 9. I'll leave this for you to recall, but this adds to minus 18. And I think I have, yeah, there we go. Okay, and you could do this on a number line. You could draw a number line and count on the number line. So for instance, we could, here's a number line, goes in both directions. And remember how adding works on the number line. You start at minus 9. And since we're adding a negative number, we're adding a negative 9. It means we're going to move to the left 9 places. So we would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So if you count how many hops that is, each time we hop, we do one step to the left. So this would be over here would be at minus 10, minus 11, and so on. And we get all the way to minus 18. And there we go. So, we have anything else here? So look at what we have here. Um, we have a positive number and a negative number. When we multiply them together, we actually get a negative number. In fact, 2 times 9 is 18, but 2 times minus 9 is negative 18. So when we have a positive number and a negative number, we end up and we multiply them together, we get a negative number. So it's something to keep in the back of your mind. Okay, let's do another example. What about if we have two negative numbers? What does this mean? So we have negative 3 times negative 5. Now this is slightly different. Remember what this first number represented? This first number represented the number of times we were adding the other number. But since we have a negative, this is the number of times we're going to subtract. So what does that mean? Well, it means the following. It means we're going to subtract negative 5. So we're subtracting negative 5 3 times because we have a 3 here. So we have 3 5s, 3 negative 5s. It's an awkward, you know what? And because of this negative, we are subtracting. So we went over adding and subtracting integers. If you remember the trick, we extend these together and make it a plus sign, and it's like we're adding. And when we complete this summation, we should get positive 15. Okay, so something to keep in mind here is when we multiply two negative numbers, we actually end up with a positive number. So let's just expose that note there. So a negative number multiplied by a negative number produces a, there's a typo here. That should read positive number. So you could go ahead and correct that. Okay, so that's how we multiply integers. So why don't I do an example. What I have here on the right is just some rules that we talked about. So if we have a negative number times a positive number, we end up with a negative number. Two negatives gives us a positive, and two positive gives us a positive. So the only time we end up with a negative is when the two signs are different. So let's look at the first example here, 7 times minus 5. Well, 7 times 5 is 35. Well, let's do that in the same color. 7 times 5 is 35. But we don't have 7 times 5, we have 7 times negative 5. So the 7 is positive, the 5 is negative, so a positive times a negative gives us a negative. Now, the next one, we have minus 3 times minus 9. The result should be positive, and we just multiply the 3 and the 9. 3 times 9 is 27, and it's positive because we have two negative numbers. And finally, 2 times 6 is 12. We have two positive numbers. A positive times a positive is a positive. Okay, so that's the examples that I do. You should have this. You should do these now and show it to me when you're done, and we can move on then to the worksheet.